Hello, I'm PJ Bishop. Welcome to my channel. In the last video, we went over the front office and the pitching staff. In this video, we're going to go over the lineup that I built. And let's take a look at our lineup. We're going to go over the right-handed part, because that's just what the main lineup is. So, batting leadoff, our third baseman is going to be Jordan Groshans. Nice to have him batting leadoff for the minimum. Not a bad leadoff batter. Could still improve, but I like him defensively. Pretty good spring training. If you look at his spring training, he had a pretty good spring training. So I'm hoping he can continue this heading into the season. He had an OPS of 888. So solid spring training. High average. On base, you like to see that in the 400s. But that's high. That's high stuff there, 400s. Last year, he was in AAA and in the MLB. Looks like he spent more time in AAA than the majors. Obviously had a much better time in AAA. But he held his own in the majors, so if he can just hold his own again, I think I'll be fine. This team, so I'm not sure what this team's issue was last year. 105 losses is a ton. So I don't know if it was because they had poor hitting, or if they had poor pitching, or if it was a combination. But this isn't a bad stat line. And if he could do this again, I think that's solid. And he's only 24, so he still is improving. Batting number 2 is our left fielder, Whit Merrifield, 2-time All-Star. Not even that long ago, 2021. I did get him out of free agency. I was kind of happy he was one of my free agent signings. As he filled the void that I needed. Again, pretty good spring training, hitting 812 OPS, batting average over 300. So a nice spring training. So another guy with a nice spring training. Last year for Toronto, he again held his own. 748 OPS is not the best in the world, but it's holding your own with an average of 279. So I think so if they could just repeat what they did last year, it's not that bad. Obviously, you want better, but who doesn't want? We all want people that hit 900 OPS, but it's not going to happen. Batting in our 3 spot, and the most important spot, is our center fielder, Chad Chisholm. Rough spring training, so I hope that does not carry over. As you can see, his average was below 200. OPS ended up being at 443. He is still expected to get better, but I do like him because he's got home run power. He's able to, and he's got bat-to-ball skills. So he's the overall package when it comes to hitting. He just hasn't seemed to click yet in spring training. I hope it does click. Last year was actually a pretty bad year for him, too. Down year, I would say. A 643 OPS is extremely bad, in my opinion, for a player of his caliber. That's below average. That's not good. You don't want to be in the 600s. You want to be in the 700s. As at least an average player. Batting cleanup is first baseman Nico Kavadas. Surprised he doesn't have a Greek nationality. Pretty sure it's Greek. Got him with a trade with Boston. I think we got a steal here. Because he's an absolute, although they have Tristan Casas at first, so they don't really need him. So, and he had a monster spring training, over 1,000 OPS. So if he can continue playing like this, I'd say we got the better deal here. And his home run power could eventually end up being elite. As he's got 65 now, which is really good. And he could still improve a little bit. So he's not done developing. If he can develop fully, I think we got an absolute stud at first base who's going to be hitting cleanup for years to come. And considering that he is a rookie, we'll be paying him next to nothing for so long, and well into his prime years too. So this is a fabulous trade for us. It's a no-brainer. As you can see, last year in AAA, he's been raking for the last 2 years. Over 1,000 OPS last year, hit only 21 home runs, So didn't really tap into his home run power. Oh, that was only in 51 games, though. Or 70 games. Okay, that's 51 games. Yeah, so that's actually pretty darn good. I thought it was a full season. He didn't even play a full season last year. So yeah, he definitely hit tons of home runs. He's an excellent player. I think a great move by me to trade for him. It was an easy decision. And in our number 5 spot will be Mike Zunino. I'm not sure if I said that name correctly. He's a really good defensive catcher with his ability being at 70. That in itself was going to help me get some wins. He's a good leader, just not loyal. But he's got good home run power. I signed him. I signed him out of free agency because of his home run power. I want a guy who can clobber home runs. Now, the problem with him, he's going to strike out a ton, and he's not really going to make much connection. If he's not hitting home runs, he's not doing anything else aside from playing really good defense. So he's one of those. Batting in the number 5 spot is perfect, because he is always going to be a threat to hit a home run. As you can see, his spring training was abysmal. Look at that batting average. That's disgustingly bad. But he's just so good defensively. Last year with Cleveland, he did hit 18 home runs. I want this guy. If I can get this guy who hits 33 home runs, I'll be extremely happy. That's what I want. Give me 30 home runs. Give me a 30 home run season. That was probably his last year of All-Star, wasn't it? Yep. But I think for $3.5 million to get an elite defensive catcher, although he is going to go up a little bit more, but I might end up trading him next year. That was kind of the purpose of signing him. But if his catching ability stays elite, I really don't see a reason not to keep him, because that's a really elite level of catching. Not too many of those guys left, and he's got home run power, so he's got actual use. Batting number 6, and I treat this one as more like another leadoff spot, because again, I expect him not to get on base or do anything, so it's almost like we're starting over again. So batting number 6 is second baseman John Birdie. Not fantastic, as you can see here. Not a good spring training either. 619 OPS, but last year, yeah. So he's definitely he's been well below average for quite some time, both in minor leagues and in the Major League Baseball as well. So I don't know what to make of him. I don't think he's really good, but he's kind of the best option I had. We'll see what he does. He should do better, or be better. So we'll see. And he is versatile, so he has value in defense. He has value here, and he should be a little better than what this suggests. So batting in the 6th spot is not terrible. Batting number 7, shortstop Gene Segura. I do like him. I think he's extremely solid, because he's a solid defender, solid on the base paths, a good enough hitter, I think. Spring training, he was just solid. Last year, he wasn't too good last year. If he can just repeat what he did in 2022 with Philadelphia, I can live with that out of the number 7 spot. He just needs to improve more from last year's performance of 664 OPS, because he's not good enough defensively to kind of justify being below average offensively. Batting in the number 8 spot is our DH, Jorge Soler. For most teams, he would be batting cleanup or even the 5th spot, but we do have guys that they're either equal or better than him, and this is just where he happens to fall in. And this is definitely my last year with him, because he's not providing any defense. That's why he's a DH. And aside from his home run power, he doesn't really contribute anywhere else. How did he do last year? Yeah, he's already well below back-to-back years of kind of being eh. Although the home runs last year, 28 home runs. So if he can, that's kind of his only job. The most, 192 strikeouts. So I think when it's highlighted in red, that means it's the most. It's either the best or the worst of his career. And that was the worst, which I expect. The higher this usually gets, the lower this usually gets. And typically, the higher this is, because pitchers will tend to just walk you instead of risk giving up a home run. But this is definitely my final year with him, if I don't trade him just to get rid of his contract. But there's no point. He's a free agent anyway. And then batting in our 9th spot is our right fielder, Jose Ramos. He was a Rule 5 pick out of Oakland. I didn't actually expect him to make my lineup. I only kept him because I liked his potential, and I like the fact that he's actually a good right fielder. But it turns out he was actually good enough to make my lineup. So I was surprised. He does have good home run power, so that helps. And he's so underdeveloped. I wasn't expecting anything because 2 stars for a 4-star potential guy was much better than I expected. And he had a really good spring training, hitting 860 OPS. So he's going straight from Double-A to Major League Baseball, and small sample size in Double-A. But he was raking high. I mean, he was raking all season. 911 in Low A, and then over 1,100 OPS at High A, and even still a 956 OPS in Double-A. So it does seem like the minor leagues is no longer a challenge for him, and he's probably more than good enough to hold his own. And if you look at spring training, he held his own in spring training. Again, that's only spring training, but it is against major league pitching. It's not like it's preseason football where it's second stringers against second stringers. This is against other major league pitchers who are trying to shake off rust from the offseason. So he held his own. Pleasantly surprised there. Just really happy overall that I get a cheap player that starts for me that could end up being really good. And all it cost me was a pick and the Rule 5 draft pick, which you get them automatically. And, of course, you got to keep him rostered all season. I don't see that being an issue considering that he does have enough home run power to be a threat. And defensively, he's actually good. So this is it's a win for us when it comes to that. Let's take a look at our backups. The only other guy that's starting that didn't start in is Jacob Amaya, second baseman. He's better against lefties. So he does end up getting the starts at versus the lefties. I like him. He's a real solid player. Fairly young, still 25. He's good defensively. He's actually a really good second baseman. That's why I like him a ton. So defensively, versus lefties, we got a solid second baseman. And he should be able to hit okay. Nothing great. I'm never going to be like, oh my God. He did well in AAA. 928 OPS. Although, I don't know if he'll sustain that type of play in the major leagues. If he gets, again, I'd rather have him hit like last year, that wasn't bad. 682 in your rookie season, that's not bad. A little better than that would and I'll be happy. So we'll see what he does this year versus left-handed pitching mostly. And then my other backup, we have right fielder Jordan Westburg. He was another trade deadline with Baltimore last year. I like him. I'm not in love with him. He's not going to ever become anything better than an average hitter. But I guess he's a leader, which is good. It's nice to have bench players be leaders. For Baltimore, didn't play much for either team and didn't do very well for either team. Nothing like his AAA days, which I don't think he'll ever hit like that for us or anyone. Backup catcher is Liam Hicks. He is the definition of average, Really, he's more the definition of below average. Not even a good catcher. Not a good hitter. He just doesn't strike out. That's it. So, yeah, seeing him trade with Texas last year, again, around the trade deadline, I would have never really made this trade. I'm not sure. I don't know what they gave up for him. But just judging by all this, I'm going to say it wasn't worth it. And we lost that one. And then who's our last bench guy? Center fielder Victor Mesa Jr. I have him at center field because he's good enough to be there. He can play all of them. It's fine. But he's nothing spectacular. He's still developing, but he made my roster somehow, despite being really underdeveloped. I'm not sure. How did you sneak into my roster? How you're going straight from high A to Major League Baseball? You know what it was? He was a Rule 5 eligible. I did like him enough to add him because of his potential. Why did I add him? I guess because of his potential, huh? His defense is good enough. And Chaz, though, and our guys will need rest, and he can come in and give him some rest. But he did kind of sneak through the cracks here. I didn't realize I left him on. I don't know if he'll end up doing much. I can't even promise that he'll even finish on the active roster. Nothing aside from defense. I'm not really too. Oh, I'm hoping he maybe develops more than we expect, and becomes a better player. Not counting on it. So that's it. That is our lineup. It's not a spectacular lineup, but I think we have a player at every position that's solid, and also a player in all these roles that I think are going to do well. I think our leadoff man should be fine. So is our second man, third man, and so on. So I don't think it's no pure star players yet. I don't think. And if you go to our organization roster and you look at our best player is our pitcher, who I'm going to be trading, unfortunately. And then my second best player, according to star level, is Nico, which is the kid that I got from Boston. So it is interesting that we don't really have a clear star player as a batter. He has the potential to be good, but nothing great there. So that's it for this video. The next and final video before I start playing games will be the top prospects of my organization, and then we can start playing some games. Thank you for watching.